huge. Now, the topic of the discussion today is an integrated service offering across offshore and onshore needs, right? Now, I can tell you, having tried this to build this over the last 5 years, one thing, if we want the audience to get away from this room is thinking about is, it is indeed very difficult, right? As much as we think about it, it is indeed very, very difficult.
Well, the fact that there are no easy answers means.
Right. Now, and I, in my own sort of limited way of at least creating an integrated investment management service offering, the tax and legal issues aside, you know, there are severe challenges, and those challenges you only come across when you do it.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, you know, they all seem easy to execute, but, you know, just simple things around, you know, you can't really share advice. The same person cannot share advice. You got to have a team on both offshore and onshore providing advice to a client. Now, any client you take, they will have substantial part of their assets. No client will have 50-50 of their assets across the two. So they'll have 80 here, 20 there. Now, if they have 80 here and that 80 is $50 million, they deserve a very different service model than what they deserve on 20%. Now, can firms raise above the geographical boundaries and actually serve that client as a client? I yet doubt. I don't think firms have evolved to that point, and we have faced that challenge as well. Now, and when you start to layer in the jurisdictional complexities, there is no single firm who has the tax and the legal and the investment management capabilities across all jurisdictions to really bring the offering together for the client. So, a lot of it is about having the right partners. So, whoever aspires to build that, the first thing they have to do is go and find the best partners across various geographies, across various functions, pick them in and create a web of network, and that network is the only one that can bring to bear an integrated sort of service offering for the client.
Absolutely. So it's all about teaming and bringing
together
multidisciplinary skills,
because no single firm,
and cross-border skills actually, which are really imperative in trying to be able to offer a holistic solution to a client.
Absolutely, because the issues are not single dimensional. I mean, they're multi-dimensional.
Certainly, absolutely. Abhijit,
well,
on
your best practices, international best practices, I think you know, the fact of a trust, a discretionary trust, a institutional trustees, all these are practices which are coming and will come to India. But remember, practices are not a fungible experience in best practices, because this is not a homogeneous country, and therefore, if you see, McDonald's is one of the only countries where it doesn't sell Big Mac. So you will have to customize. It's not a question that you will be able to lift an international best practices and put it out here. It will fail the test because you are ultimately dealing with psyches of individuals. And therefore you have to tailor. But in a sense, evolution of all this is already heading towards that direction.
Excellent. Dilip bhai, we have a hard stop at 1:10, but some quick closing thoughts.
Just whenever we talk of families and structures, internationally, there would be for asset protection, there would be for business expansion, and philanthropy, which includes the family. I'd agree with Atul and with Abhijit that all this is possible. So, as a concluding thought, it is for the family to sit together to know what the family wants.
Do you think Indian families are willing to do that, bite that bullet easily? That is one.
I think
you require. Other thought I thought would come out from the closing is family office and the concept really picking up, and how do you see it forward?
I would not, well, a family office is a different concept which we could discuss separately, but it is necessary for a family to be aligned to what it wants to achieve as a family. And you can have diverse objectives of a family member, but a unified goal on which the family wants to move. And that's the structure which is possible universally. So as an ending thought, let the family be united in its thought, though it might be diverse in its ambitions, and that is achievable.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I would request all of you to carry this with a loud applause. We had a fantastic panel before us. And thank you, all of you, for a patient listening. Please feel free to ask any questions, maybe during the break. I'm sorry we didn't have enough time for questions here. Do we have, Neha?
Not really. One maybe you can take.
Okay, one.
Compliments to the panel, very engaging. Am I audible? compliments to the panel, very engaging deliberation. My question is on a point that Mr. Chokshi mentioned, that when you look for offshore jurisdictions or solutions, you look at tax and the liability aspect for a family when you are advising to them. So from a tax point of view, when you really look at these jurisdictions, how do you really go about finding that particular jurisdiction, or what do you look into that jurisdiction as per elements? And do you really go with terms that what the family has familiarity or relevance to those jurisdictions vicinity, or how do you really go about those finding those things?
I would like to answer it in two ways. Was that addressed at me?
You can go ahead.
No, who was it?
Tax.
Yeah, there are basically two ways of looking at it. One is always look at a jurisdiction which has defined legislation, which does not have lengthy litigation processes. The second step that you look for is reasonableness in tax. And then the third thing that you look for is a tax treaty, because ultimately, do you get a set-off of that tax, ultimately if it is going to be taxed in India. I'm not going into the question of treaty shopping and which is the best way of minimizing tax, because when you're looking at large businesses, that's not really the main driver. These are the three main drivers. You must go to a regime which has a defined legal system. Number two, where there is reasonable quickness in disposal, whether it's advance ruling or whether it is just the assessments which you get on filing of the return. And then comes a question of tax planning your best jurisdiction. Now that can get complex if you're going for an IPO and you're looking for an IPO in Mauritius, or you're looking for an IPO in Liechtenstein, or maybe at the AMC or whatever. Those that get complex, but these are the three main issues that you look at.
Thank you. I'm Pankaj Jain, representing Josie Finance in India. Thank you.
Thank you.
We can take one more question if you have any. All right, sure. So can we have the mic, please?
I'm Anurag from Bangalore. I wanted to know, is the trend right now is more when you're creating structure or trust or whatever, is tax saving, and the tax is the ultimate goal of the clients. But should be the protection, how to go to the smoothness to the next generation, should be the main criteria when you're doing a structure. And tax should be the second thought. Is it changing, or it will remain that?
Is tax the primary driver? Abhijit, would you want to take that? And should it be probably the primary driver, or should it be something else?
So let me take this one. Should it be? The question is, I am no one to speak. It's not my money, and therefore, obviously. But the fact is that tax is a certainty, and so you can mitigate that to eliminate taxation. I mean, we've got, even with the greatest of creativity, it's a difficult proposition. You must have family structures or succession structures for the right reasons, which is for posterity, which is for keeping the family together, which is for value creation, and which is for minimum leakages. And those are the, I would say, the driving forces of structuring. The manifestation, or while you are navigating that particular aspect, taxation is an integral part of it. But if you make that a centerpiece, then probably you might lose a lot of values in the process.
And in fact, in an environment where we are moving towards general anti-avoidance rules, tax cannot be the primary driver. Otherwise, you are asking for tax trouble.
I mean, the only point I would add is that the only place where I have seen tax reasons work and ultimately sort of drive the behavior is when the families are willing to move abroad completely and they want to relocate. Then yes, there is a tax aspect to the decision, and if they want to become NRI, take their wealth abroad, etc. So that's probably a limited case where tax is the driver of the decision. But I completely agree with Abhijit. I mean, most of the conversations are not about tax. Now, yes, you got to optimize tax at the back of it, but they're not the drivers.
Right, excellent.
Sure.
So thank you so very much. I hope all of you have a great day, and the rest of the sessions are very illuminating. Thank you so much once again.
I just request our panelists to kindly stay back, and I'd like to request Mr. Aditya Gadge to come onto the dais and felicitate our distinguished panelists. And it was definitely one enlightening session that we've had since morning.
Thank you so much, Aditya.
Can we please have a warm round of applause?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wait, here.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now break for lunch, but we'll be back at 2 o'clock as we begin our post-lunch session then. Thank you so much.